Welcome to the podcast, She is Fab, where we discuss all things Fab, women empowerment, and life coaching. My name is Evelyn, also known as the Fab Chieftess, and I am a mindset transformation coach. Welcome to another episode of the She is Fab podcast. Today, I am joined by Sonya MacCrimmon, and she is a mindset and behavior change coach. Outside of coaching, she's also a certified behavior analyst. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, I'm glad to have you. So tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
So that little bio, I just basically my background is I found my passion for coaching at my previous job, where I worked in an agency implementing behavior therapy for kids with autism. And so I supervised 2 classrooms of students. And throughout those years of being a supervisor, I had to coach my staff and parents as well through challenging behaviors and provide various strategies and feedback along the way. And my supervisory style is very much open communication, so that my staff and parents felt comfortable to be open and honest about their struggles. And that wasn't necessarily a part of my role, but being able to support them and help build their confidence was such an eye-opening experience. And one of my staff actually gave me such a beautiful letter on my last day saying how much I had changed her life. And so it also just made me realize that I was truly on the right path going into coaching. And before that, on my own healing journey, it really started when I left an emotionally abusive relationship in my early 20s. And through that, I really started to begin to understand more and more about myself, my upbringing, my relationships, my inner child, and how my career has shaped me to who I am today. And yeah.
Wow. So a couple of things there, but let's touch on one point. You didn't necessarily set out to become a coach. You were working in one capacity, and then through that, you discovered that you had a passion or a talent for what you're doing now. And then on top of that, I'm curious, was the relationship that you left before you got into coaching or soon after you got into coaching?
Yeah, the relationship was years ago. So it was in my early 20s and I'm 30 now. So many years ago with that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then both of these instances, the job, what you were doing there, and then this relationship kind of tied together to really push you towards where you are today in being a mindset and behavior coach.
Yeah. And I guess one of the big points to add to that whole story is what really shifted for me also getting into the coaching, and what really pushed me into that also was I decided to get my own life coach a year ago. And when I went on that journey of having my own life coach and having that experience of being coached through certain things, that was really what got me feeling so much more like, oh, this is actually something that I do in my supervisory role at my work in some way or form, right? And that really just spiraled it into, oh, okay, like what about this as a job? And then actually I ended up having an experience at my work, which I did not think I ever would have, where they were like, oh, like they were talking about mindfulness and burnout and stuff because of COVID. And so one of the people on the senior team were like, oh, Sonya, like, weren't you doing these like mindfulness challenges or something? Like, would you want to do that for the staff? And I was just like, what is happening? Like, it was kind of like everything happened in this timing, like divine timing, I call it. And then so I led a mindfulness workshop for like 50 people on Zoom, and it was like so powerful. I loved it. It was so great. Like just even getting like the messages back from people after that workshop, it was just like, I got that feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's what it feels like. And I loved it. Yeah.
First of all, let me just say kudos to you. That is amazing because especially when you're starting out as a coach, you want to take your time to like establish your connections, work with specific clients and kind of, take baby steps towards building your customer base, right? But you had 50 people that you had to walk through a mindset course or maybe even like a challenge. And I mean, I can imagine that alone must have been somewhat nerve-wracking, especially because these people know you in a different capacity, right? So this is new to them.
Yeah, it was honestly, I was so nervous. And I think it was because also in the field of behavior analysis, so that is like my main education background. And
Mm-hmm.
in behavior analysis, they talk a lot about external events with behavior. So, like things that you can see. They don't talk a
Mm-hmm.
lot about private events, which are like your thoughts and things like that. And so in my field of like what I was implementing in that job, I feel like the mindfulness strategies or that talk about your thoughts and your patterns in that way was not to say taboo, but like it felt like a very uncomfortable setting, at least initially in my
Mm-hmm.
eyes, of just like, oh, they see me in this way at work. They've never seen me, like, they don't know me in that way for sure. But then, of course, it was just like I did a bunch of like, I did a challenge in it. We did a visualization, we did a little meditation, like, and then I did some gratitude and affirmation stuff in there as well. And yeah, it was very well received, but it was still very nerve-wracking for then my staff to like see me in that way too. But it wasn't a bad thing. It was obviously just like my feelings around it, but yeah.
I love that. And I have to say, too, it's interesting because in your role, you already worked in a capacity where you're working with behaviors and helping folks through that. So I feel like in terms of coaching, that is very much in alignment. So I'm not surprised that you actually ended up becoming a coach along the same topic, along the same lines.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what I really love to morph in my coaching in the sense of the uniqueness of it. Because there are a lot of mindset coaches or life coaches or transformation coaches or whatever you really want to label it. But with that background, I really combine like the mindset work, which is a lot of the inner child work or limiting beliefs and really breaking through that. And that's more from my personal experience and the research that I've looked into in that sense. But then the behavior change aspect is really once you've looked through that mindset and you've really broken free from those limiting beliefs, then implementing those like evidence-based strategies to build positive change and create those long-lasting habits in your everyday. So it's kind of that combination there.
That's great. I find that the best coaches, in my experience, and even those who are successful in, say, launching a business, are those that have themselves had some experience in their life, some sort of catalyst that drove them to take that route because they're sharing their personal experience. They have something to base it on and to go by.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. In the coaching world, it's very unregulated, and so yeah, you can have very many different kinds of people in it, but always having that like personal experience uh, lends a very different experience, and then when you have the education there too, it's kind of like that double whammy situation.
Yes, you made a good point there with regards to education and experience. So obviously there are a lot of coaches out there, a lot in the same field, right? There's a ton of mindset coaches, behavior coaches, what have you, uh, in varying niches. And there are two trains of thought with regards to experience versus education, right? And well, you can say the third, right? The combination of education and experience. Uh, it is a very challenging. I always tell folks to do their research when they are looking for a coach or selecting a coach. Definitely talk to the individual, explore their background, their experience, because not everyone that says they're a coach is actually really qualified to help you with your particular issue, or even qualified in general in terms of their knowledge and accreditation.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a thing that, because my business, I run it my main platform is Instagram. And when I started my coaching business, I was just, new to it. I had a couple posts on my coaching page, but I guzzled up like every kind of coach on Instagram. And there's business coaches out there, and like there's so many things that you guzzle up on Instagram, but it's like sometimes you have no idea what their background is, or where they started, or any of that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it's definitely a big thing for sure. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right in the sense of it's really about that best fit as well. So just like, number one, making sure that you can, talk with that client or connect with them, especially on the coach's side, to make sure that they are like doing that due diligence to be like, okay, is this truly a right fit? But yeah.
Exactly. And also coaches out there, or aspiring coaches, understand the differences. And I think I've mentioned this before, understand the differences between, being a coach, being a therapist, and being a counselor. We are not doctors and we are not therapists. Sure, certain things, certain skill sets overlap, but at the end of the day, if you don't know that difference and you take on a client that really actually needs a doctor or a therapist, you are doing them a disservice and could actually do more harm than good.
Yes, absolutely. And I do see that in when I've connected with people as well, because I've talked a lot about inner child work, and that talks a lot about breaking down your past experiences and certain trauma that you might have experienced. And so that in itself is always something that I'm very careful to assess on my end as well, because some people might have not addressed any of their trauma yet, let's say, and that might be something that would be more related to therapy or counseling. So always having that connection with those people to really understand where they're at in their journey. Because yeah, as you said, like with coaches, we're really there to help and guide in the sense of facilitating change. We're not there to fix or do the change for them or anything like that. It's really truly in that support and guidance role, for sure.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head there. We're an accountability buddy, basically, right? We help you to put a plan in place, help you, follow through, pinpoint areas that, we could continue to expand and develop, but we're not going to do the work for you. We can only hold your hand so much. And if there are deep-seated issues that we encounter, then it's on us to direct you to someone who can actually help, to Sonya's point, address that childhood trauma or any other trauma that we're seeing. I love it already. You're such a good coach.
So many topics I could talk about. Yeah.
That brings up something else to mind too. Just because a coach is marketing themselves as like a mindset coach, or in your case, the addition of behavior, it doesn't mean that that's their sole experience. In gaining accreditation, and Sonya, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if your experience is different, but I have certifications on various topics, not just mindset. And as you're going through an accreditation, it will also touch other subject matter. And so you really get this 360 experience, but we as individuals choose where we want to focus. So don't discount a coach because of the title that they're putting out there. If you like their energy, you like what they're about, definitely reach out and find out more.
Yeah, totally. I 100% agree. And that's the thing too, is there's so many different types of accreditations and certifications for coaches. And yeah, there's a lot that can have certain specialties in certain things. One thing that I do in my coaching, which I personally love because it has morphed the field of behavior analysis really into coaching, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. So it's called ACT. And if you guys have heard of like CBT, like cognitive
Yes.
behavior therapy, ACT is very similar, but it's all about doing what matters, getting present, and opening up. That's like the 3 core things within ACT, and it utilizes the science of behavior analysis and like evidence-based strategies in a way to help build those skills in that capacity. So outside of my coaching certification, I have also gotten that certification. And the nerd in me is just, I just love it because it's all about science. And once again, that I think just that in itself, it literally combines coaching and behavior analysis in one. So I am all about that. And so I talk about in my coaching that I have like a very scientific framework behind what I teach my clients.
Well, that makes sense too, because, when you think of scientific terms, right, and the whole hypothesis of things and conceptuality of things, really, as a coach, in order for you to gain more clients and to kind of expand your reach, you're proving, right, that you're able to inspire change, that you have a methodology or a process that will work to get you from point A to point B. So it can be very scientific in the tools that you use to make that happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like one of the core things that within ACT is that you really look at your values first and you break those down. But not only do you break down your values, you look at what kind of goals you set, why you set those goals, and then breaking down those goals into emotional goals versus behavioral goals. What does that mean? And really breaking those things down, and then that allows you to take those like actionable steps. And also breaking down, it actually does tie into like mindset and certain negative thoughts and things like that in the framework as well, of just really looking at what kinds of things are stopping you. Are you super distracted? Are you disengaging from people? Are you disconnecting? And certain things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of avenues to really break down that process. And yeah, I could talk about that stuff all day.
You know what else is very interesting? You said yourself that you continue to develop your education and your skill set, and you have more than one accreditation. Same with me. I've actually been toying with the idea of, on my site, actually listing all the areas where I have the certifications or I have that skill set, because the one thing that I have noticed, and maybe the reason why I haven't listed it, is because a lot of these accreditations, yes, they're about a particular subject matter, but a lot of what's in there is actually present in another topic, right? There's a lot of overlap in terms of processes, in terms of behavior modifications, in terms of internalization.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you say that, because I was actually thinking the exact same for myself about my website. But that's the thing too. It's true. And yeah, I feel like I explain certain things in paragraphs, but not really like list it out or label it. But I guess, when I first started my coaching, I weaned myself out of my 9 to 5. And so now I'm doing my coaching full time. But at the same time, I do have my my credentialing as a behavior analyst, which is like separate from coaching, like completely separate. But it is, I've now wanted to open up another website and do behavior consulting on the side for individuals with autism. So I now am enhancing my website thoughts for myself as well, to really break those things down.
Awesome. Glad to know that you are of the same thought, or starting to think about it now, because like I mentioned, well, everyone, any coach, any individual should be seeking to continuously grow, continuously develop. And for us, it's making sure that we're up to date on trends, that we are following up with our certifications and accreditations. And if you have any sort of interest in a subject matter, there's a lot of different topics that you can coach on. right? And a lot of different age ranges too, which brings a different sort of perspective, right? So again, I've done so many. I'm not going to sit here and list them, but I've done so many. And that's what I've noticed, Sonya, that it's like, wait, this is the exact same as this subject matter with, a small portion of it really differentiating itself from the rest.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many things out there. So I definitely hear you on that one.
So something else I wanted to kind of get your opinion on, and this is the reason why I do coaching mostly. And you've kind of mentioned it yourself in your original introduction about your journey. But the feeling that you get from helping someone, from moving them, even if it's a small step in the direction that they want to go, that feeling, the feedback that you get from your clients, or even folks that you're just, helping them necessarily be a client of yours, that positivity, that's what I love, is that positive energy and connection. What about you?
Oh man, yeah. Honestly, I truly do love seeing those aha moments from my clients when either they've been doing the work and they connect with me and let me know that they've like had a breakthrough, or we're on a call and I've provided some guidance and they just have that breakthrough right there in front of me and they're just like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And they themselves are like shocked in that moment, and like that's where I'm like it's happening, and I just I love seeing that. And just I am always so proud of my clients whenever they are doing the work and making those changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, yeah, you guys are doing it. So yeah, I definitely love experiencing that aha with them in their moments of achieving things. It's such an awesome feeling.
I love that too. And sometimes it takes reiteration, right? They may have heard some of this stuff before, right? But this is the moment where it all comes together and they're just like, oh, that light bulb goes off. So yeah, I totally relate to that.
Yeah, I love it. They're all so, and it's always different as well. And as you said, yeah, sometimes it could take longer for some people versus not. And it's even in that in itself, I think that's also what I love about it is there might be a client that might need to take longer to understand something, but then finally has that breakthrough moment. And it's those are always so cool. But then someone, if they're just they're already they're crushing their journey and you're just getting to see it along the way. It's just yeah, I love it.
Yeah, there's usually what I find for the ones that take a little bit longer, there's a bit of resistance there, right? And that resistance can stem from many areas, right? It can be something that they've experienced before that has shut them down. It can be some sort of limiting belief that is holding them back. But I really, really tell folks out there, if you find that you need some form of accountability, if you're struggling in some way and you're not even sure what the struggle is or what's holding you back or preventing you, you should at least reach out. A lot of coaches, and they should if they don't, do offer a discovery call, right? It's a no obligation call to get to know you, understand you, and see if it would actually work in terms of working together. But even in that, you might learn something about yourself that could really help.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And that's the thing too, is when, for me personally, my main platform, as I said, is Instagram. And so, I mean, talking about cold DMs and people that just pop up,
Don't you love those?
Coaches doing that, that's a whole other thing. Oh gosh, but that's a whole other topic. But for me, it one of my core values is connection. And so I honestly just really love getting to know my audience and connecting with them on Instagram. But that's the thing is I start to just connect, have a conversation with them, see how their day is going, and just really like if they start to respond to my my stories and stuff, I just really get to know them. And that's the thing, like a lot of my relationships with my clients have taken, you know, months of connecting to really build that trust. But then in that process, they do open up and share certain struggles or anything. And, you know, at that point, I'm always like, oh, you know, like if you are, you know, looking for some type of support, I would be open to doing one of those free connection calls. And yeah, just like, you know, you start to get that inkling, or you start to see that they are, you know, talking about their struggles and are unsure. They, you know, are getting, opening up at that point to see, yeah, let's hop on a call and chat and see if like there's certain supports that they're looking for.
I love that. I'm with you. It's about trust and connection, right? I'm not a fan of the cold calls or cold interactions. I'm also not somebody who presses other people. The way I see it, if the connection is meant to happen, it's going to happen organically, right? Something brought you to me, something that you need that I can provide, and we potentially learn from each other, or something that I could learn from you. So I love that trust and connection is so important. So something else I wanted to ask you regarding your experience is, has anyone outright asked you why someone should pick you as a coach when there are so many other coaches available?
Ooh, you know what? I have not actually had that experience.
It's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, I haven't. But yeah, that's like a really interesting. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't even know what to say. Like just off the top of my head right now, I'm like, oh.
Well, I was asked that once, and like you, I was kind of caught for a moment because I wasn't sure how to answer that question. Like for me, I don't believe in comparing myself to another person, nor do I believe in putting another person down to make myself look better. So the answer that I gave, which is really simplistic, but was satisfactory to me, is that the reason why they should pick me as a coach is because I have their best interest, whether it's working with me or working with another coach that I feel would be a better fit, right? It's all about the individual, not about you.
Yeah, and I think that gets lost sometimes in the coaching industry as well is I mean, we've already kind of said, you know, like that trust and connection and getting on calls to see if it is the right fit, but there unfortunately are coaches out there that are either in it for the money, unfortunately, or just in it to just, you know, prove themselves or have them just getting more clients. And, you know, that there's a lot of that in the coaching realm. But honestly, I would have probably said the exact same as you if I was in that situation, because it's true, right? Is I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And, you know, like I've had experiences with like, you know, people ghosting me before. Like there's definitely like, you meet so many people in the online space. And so, but when I look at those situations, I'm like, you know, I look at that and think, you know, they're not ready, or it just wasn't meant to be, and that's okay. And so really having that kind of mindset with it. But yeah, having the best interest in heart for them, as to, you know, it would be their choice if it's the right fit. Right.
And guys listening or watching on YouTube, we practice what we preach. You know, we hear no's. You know, it's the nature of things. It happens, but we don't take it to heart, right? We have the tools to understand that if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be, or maybe you just weren't ready, or the connection and energy wasn't quite right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I mean, yeah, I keep going back to Instagram, but it's like there's so many different ways that you can connect with people, or you know, people connect with me through my website, and I've never met them before, and it's like, so I haven't built months of trust and connection with that person. So, you can get clients in very many different ways. So, there's so many avenues of connecting with people and just really seeing what works and what doesn't.
Exactly. And all about being genuine in your connections, right? Because the more genuine and authentic you are, the more you can actually attract and the more of service you can be to others. So Sonya, I'm curious, is there a program that you preach about, or anything that you're developing to help your customer base?
Like if I have a current offer right now?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm very excited. I am currently launching my 8-week group coaching program. And so within this program, it's really combining that mindset work and the behavior change practices. So it's really for, it's going to be an intimate setting. So up to 10 women that are really going on their journey already. And they've done some of the work before, but they can't really stick with it. And that's where, you have some strategies, you've done some of the inner work of looking like, you know what your limiting beliefs are. But when it starts to get to those like hard days, or you fall off track and then you get back into those negative thought spirals, and you can't really get out of them through that process, that's really the person who is ready to jump into this kind of program, because it walks through like every step of the way, like start to finish, what it can really look like for you to work through those mindset struggles, and then adding behavior change practices to that, but then how to tackle them as you're building those consistent new habits and patterns. And so, it's a 8-week group program. It starts at the end of March, and it is 8 weeks, eight group calls, and my signature 8-module course that goes with it. So each week there's a module and it's a brief topic. And then at the end of that week, we'll have our group call. I'll briefly touch on it and share some strategies on the call. And then we'll do like live coaching and open discussion. And then there's like a group chat for everyone to chat in. What else? I think that's all the main things.
Yay! Guys, I get so excited. Like, I really enjoy supporting the community and supporting those that I connect with. I'm super excited for Sonya and her group coaching class that she is putting out there. Are you considering doing this on a continuous basis, or is this like a beta launch that you will then use to determine if you want to continue doing group coaching sessions?
It is my beta, and I do plan to repeat it afterwards. Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, go support Sonya. Obviously, as usual, at the end, we'll put all the details for how to contact and connect with her in the podcast details. So go check her out. Check out her beta coaching program. I'm so excited for you.
Yay. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Of course. So you said that you have a website, and then Instagram is your main platform, right? Instagram is my main platform too, so I know. Do you get overwhelmed with all the various like outlets that you can be a part of?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like so many. Like I'm on Facebook, but like not really on Facebook. And then I'm on Twitter, and I'm definitely not really on Twitter. I started TikTok mainly because my Instagram reels were crashing on me. Every single time I tried to post a reel, it just would like not work through Instagram. So then I was like, honestly, it's just easier for me to go on TikTok, make an account, and then just share it to Instagram. But then that made me kind of go down the rabbit hole of TikTok and be like, oh man, like there's so many things on here. So then I did have like a short stint of being like, maybe I should do like a ton of TikTok videos and only share some of them to Instagram. But I did not do that. So my TikTok is like 5 videos. But so yes, mainly Instagram.
So Instagram is my main platform as well, but I'm also on other social media platforms. And TikTok is the latest addition. And I have to say, it's fun, but it's also a lot of work. My cousin, she's a family therapist, and she's been really supportive since I started this whole coaching journey. And she's the one who pushed me to TikTok. So thanks, Nat. Thanks for pushing me to TikTok.
There's like, yeah, like I've seen some coaches that are like their main platform is TikTok, and I'm just like, wow, like the amount of videos, the amount of things, like so just so much content so often. And like I went to a TikTok workshop because it was happening in one of the groups I was in, and it was because this girl went viral on TikTok and like didn't expect it. And then so she decided to like continue her TikTok on, or continue having TikTok as her main platform. And then she was saying like, you have to make like 2-3 videos a day. And I was like, that in itself sounds like so crazy. Yeah. Like I was like, how in the world do you do 2 to 3 videos a day? Like that just sounds insane to me. Like that's a lot of effort. But I mean, I guess if it's your main platform, like video is your resource. Like it's just video, right? So
yeah.
But anyway,
to each their own, right?
It sounds fun.
I mean, that sounds like a lot.
It sounds fun on a short time basis. Yeah.
Maybe that's why there's so many much more younger folks who love TikTok, because they have more time to spend on, creating fancy videos or just content that's engaging. So curious, are there any groups that you're a part of? Any groups where you network with other coaches, maybe on Facebook or on Instagram?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in my time of going through like all of my coaching stuff, I was a part of like a mastermind, which is like you get group and you get one-on-one from a business coach. And then I got my own business coach. But then I joined a Facebook group, which is actually, it's a paid Facebook group, and I'm really loving it. And it's all coaches, and it's a very intimate group where people actually, no one pitches anything in there. It's really just like you hash out all of your stuff. Like you just, if you've got some like mindset struggle going on, you write it in this group, and then you actually get like the other members message you. But the main woman that has the group, she will always provide like coaching insight if you write in the group. So I've personally found that really helpful. And then I'm just a part of a ton of other free Facebook groups. And I'm trying to think. I was a part of a group program last summer, which was not specific to coaches, but then I ended up finding friends in that program that were like also starting their coaching businesses. So then I feel like I have like a little group, my own group.
Nice.
that we like chat in and connect. But yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I'm part of a ton of groups. Facebook groups is a thing, as I've discovered. And they're, it could be a similar topic, but they all offer some sort of specialty or the audience itself is a little bit different. So you also have to be, careful in what groups you join, because sometimes you may think, oh, there's value in this, but when you actually get in the group, it's not quite what you thought it was. But yes, I am also part of a bunch of groups on Facebook stemming from, working with coaches, just like you said, feeding off of each other, helping each other, as well as groups that are about women empowerment in general. And then groups that are about, how to expand and grow your audience.
Yeah, I definitely have different, I have different types of groups, that I've like felt called to join. And then there's some where I realize I'm like, yeah, maybe won't peruse this one often.
So,
and I feel like that's the thing with free Facebook groups.
Yeah. So for your program that you're launching, your group coaching session, are you putting a group together or a group maybe in Facebook that they'll be able to engage with you or engage with each other?
So they will have like a group messaging access through, I'm just trying to figure out what platform I want to do that on, because if it's just like group messaging only, then it would just be messaging, or I could use Slack, which can have like rooms and like other discussions kind of in it. So I'm trying to figure out what specific that would be. I have thought about opening up a Facebook group. But my only thing is, since I have the modules within the program, that's like a whole website and a whole course in itself. So they get access to me technically through that. So when it comes to like the group aspect of like everyone coming together, it's really more in like a messaging aspect, because all of the videos, all of the content, all of the resources are within my course. So then if I were to have a Facebook group, it wouldn't really be anything except messaging. So since they have the modules within my course and that's where all of the resources are going to be, it'll be most likely a messaging group with everybody.
Gotcha. And then for your program, in terms of the for those joining, what are the top 3 things you would say that they would get out of the coaching session or coaching sessions? It's an 8-week program.
It's a big one. Honestly, my biggest thing that I really do like to emphasize is understanding yourself on such a deeper level. And really, once you really go through this journey and understand yourself on a new level, you'll be able to regain that self-trust. And I feel like, I know that's like one broad answer, but when I look at self-trust, it's really how to set boundaries, how to say no to things, how to actually make decisions based in your values, and really just looking at different situations and processing the fears or those negative thoughts with ease, and also being able to have those difficult conversations with people that you've been holding back on. So things you've been procrastinating on, if you have perfectionism or if you've been self-sabotaging, like all of those types of behaviors all comes down to self-trust. So that's kind of my big one component that has like 6 components that come out of it. But it's really all about rebuilding that self-trust and confidence in yourself to really be able to start making those decisions in your life that are truly based in your authentic self. And when I talk about self-trust, it's really, are you creating goals truly for yourself, or is it because you feel you should? Or is it because you're seeking validation from others? What is the motivation behind your goals? And for certain people, a lot of the time it is to people please or to get that validation from others, or they feel like it's a rule that they have to live by. Like, I have to do this way, or I should be doing this. And when you're stuck in the shoulds and the what ifs and the I have to's, you're not really living and trusting in yourself. So I feel like that's like my big overarching theme. But in the program, I provide strategies on building boundaries. What do boundaries look like? How can you build those boundaries? And using a specific method. And then that in itself can lend so many, open so many doors to new possibilities. So yeah,
I love that. That all sounds great. Definitely a lot of value there for the folks that will be joining you in that coaching program. one of the things that again, I like to make clear to the audience out there is that as coaches, you may hear this stuff and it's all common sense, right? A lot of it is like things that we know or that we've heard at some point, one way or another. But what we do as coaches is, yes, it is common sense. Yes, you've heard it. We help you to actually put a plan together. We give you the tools that are going to cause that shift, cause that consistency, and give you more clarity, right? So it is an action plan, right? We're not just telling you something and then you figure it out. No, we're helping you by giving you the how to's.
Yes, I love that you say it in that way because it is so true. It does sound common, right? Like, I could say, yeah, self-trust, and people are like, okay, cool. Like, yeah. Like I did a poll in my stories today that was like the sliding poll. And it was like, do I believe in myself? Do I trust myself? And it was so interesting. Some people believed in themselves, but didn't really trust themselves. And then some people just put their bar really high. And truthfully, I've had conversations with some of them that I was like, okay.
What does it mean?
And it's like I was like, ah. But it's so interesting that you say it in that way, because it is so true. Like people talk about procrastination like all the time, and people, they know those things, or it's common. But yeah, you're so right. Like coaches really do. We break it down into actionable steps that are individualized to you and really what you're going through. And that's where that real support and guidance comes from, that I always love seeing when people realize that and like get that connection with the clients as well. Is just like, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, like it's starting to make sense now. And you're like, yeah, like you just needed like that step by step.
Yes, especially high achievers. High achievers, they yes, they may suffer from imposter syndrome. For the most part, they think they can do it all themselves, and they may not want to offload it to another person to help, because they may see that as they're lacking and not being able to solve for their own issues or their own challenges or limiting beliefs. But again, guys, I hope you're listening and fully absorbing this information that we're sharing with you. That is our purpose. If you work with somebody whose sole desire is to have you succeed, to go from where you are, point A, to where you want to go, point B, you'll get there much faster. You'll have tools and resources that you can use continuously, right? It doesn't have to end when your relationship with the coach ends, right? They're supposed to provide you with those tools and resources that you can carry on regardless of having that relationship in place or not. So again, do your research, jump on a discovery call, see if it's something that would work for you, work with a person you're reaching out to, and make small changes that are going to ultimately positively impact your life.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing too, is like, yeah, there's so many things that I feel like there's also taboo things about coaches too, like that we fix our clients or fix their problems. And yeah, like as we said earlier, like that's, those are like a big no-no in my eyes, is like, yeah, no, like I'm not here to make you feel better. I'm not here to get rid of those thoughts or feelings or frustrations, or, that is not my role. And really allowing people to understand that that's part of the process, is processing that stuff and going through it. But that's what we're there for. That's the guidance piece. That's the support piece, with the tools and the accountability, and walking them through it, and allowing them to become aware of those things. Because awareness is key. Like self-awareness is that like number one step really in that whole process. And that's what we can provide through thought-provoking questions and certain tools and journal prompts and things like that, to really get them through it rather than just trying to get rid of it. And that is definitely, I think, one of like the big myths in coaching.
Yes, and you made a good point there about getting rid of emotions or feelings. It doesn't matter who you are or what you work through. We're human. Those feelings will resurface at some point. They never go away. Imposter syndrome, that is a constant, especially the higher up you go with credentialing or the more high achiever you are. It's just, how do you manage this? How do you create habits and rituals? How do you use the tools and resources that you have to ensure that you can still be efficient, still accomplish and achieve without having that limit you? And also, you heard from Sonya. She worked with a life coach. I worked with a life coach. I have my therapist as well. We're also, relying on others to help us continue to be our best selves.
Yes. Support systems, girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in any way, shape, or form, like you got to get those support systems that like you can have in your back pocket that can hold space for you. And, as coaches, like I feel like that's like the best case scenario, because it's like you can get that support, but it's also expert support, and we can guide you in that path that you're looking for. So
Exactly.
yeah,
I love it.
all about it.
So Sonya, any last items you want to share or communicate to the audience?
Ooh. I honestly don't. I feel like we talked about like a lot of cool things today.
I love it. I know it's a lot, and honestly, we could drone on and on, but we want to make sure our audience is able to get back to the rest of their day.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be posting all the details on how to connect with Sonya. Again, go check her out on her Instagram, check out her Facebook, check out her website. Definitely dive deep into her group coaching program and what that offers. This could be a really great opportunity for you. And if maybe that's not for you, reach out to her, set up a discovery call, and you guys can talk about, how she could help you move forward.
Yeah.
Yay.
Hit me up.
I'm so glad you joined me today. Thanks for making the time, and thanks for sharing your wisdom and experience.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. All right, guys, until next time.